How's it going, everyone? We got quite a lot to talk about in this video, and the world of video game layoffs continues to develop. It has been quite insane as far as studio closures, game cancellations, layoffs over the last 16 months, even longer than that. Just covering all of these stories, we'll talk about that. And then also another studio, which while Ballistic Moon isn't owned by Sony, they did work on the Until Dawn remake, and it looks like they are effectively closed at this point as well. So, PlayStation-owned studio Visual Arts was hit with fresh layoffs as noted on Kotaku this week amid a further restructuring of Sony's US game development operations. While some of the cuts included staff who had contributed to recently canceled projects like an upcoming live service game at Bend Studio, the layoffs were more widespread than that, a source told Kotaku. Earlier this week, an unknown number of staff at the Visual Arts Group based out of San Diego were informed that their last day at Sony would be March the 7th. The team provides internal art and technical support on first-party PlayStation studios and worked closely with Naughty Dog on the recent Last of Us Part 1 and 2 remasters. Sony did not immediately respond to a request for comment. So this is amidst other layoffs that have been happening at PlayStation, and obviously with the cancellation of Bluepoint's title and Ben Studios' title, I am really curious how this restructuring is gonna go, because we have to talk about something that is a actual reality on why PlayStation went the live service route and where game development going forward is gonna go. No, a Naughty Dog is not gonna get shut down. A Guerrilla Games isn't gonna get shut down. A Santa Monica isn't gonna get shut down. However, I think everybody has to realize that we do not live in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018 anymore. Those years are gone. And why do I bring up those years? Well, those years were incredibly imperative years where Sony was really trying to establish their first party because they were in direct competition with Microsoft. Why I bring this up is because the commercial return on a game, you couldn't view it just from the standpoint of, oh, this game was profitable, this game made this much money. No, it was rather the collective idea that PlayStation was building, the collective reality they were building, mind you, that they were the best place to go for a wide variety of games. But because they had to offer the consumer that, or they deemed they had to offer the consumer that, so people would pick PlayStation over Xbox. That's what they were doing in the late 2000s all the way up until the late 2010s and the early 2020s. They do not have the pressure to do that anymore. They do not have the pressure to drop years with a banger after banger exclusive. They just don't need to, because the reality is, a big reason why these exclusives existed is, yes, they want those games to be successful, but why do you think they put so much emphasis on these Metacritic scores? Because PlayStation wanted to keep that identity that they had so many marquee exclusives and so many big budget titles. I just don't think that identity, it doesn't matter anymore because their direct competitor isn't trying to compete with them anymore. Yeah, having that identity is great. I think Sony would love to have that identity. I think they would love all their games to be 90+, but is the pressure there for that identity to be required? It's not. PlayStation's the place where people are just gonna go. Now, I think if you rest on your laurels a little bit too much, ultimately that'll have consequences. But I bring all of this up is this is why they can greenlight all of these live service games, and then ultimately those games don't turn out well. What's left of these studios? Because Days Gone and Days Gone 2, is that going to get greenlit? What has Ben Studio offered to PlayStation over the last decade? They did Uncharted Golden Abyss on a platform that isn't here. They did Days Gone, and then a live service game was in development and then canceled. What I am saying and why I'm bringing all of this up is I don't know how much longer Sony is going to deem it necessary to have all of these studios in play. I think they absolutely should, but I would not be surprised, and it pains me to say it, if they shut down Ben's studio at some point, and that would be terrible. Like, I'm not wanting that. Nobody wants these studios to be shut down. I'm trying to put myself into the eyes of the Sony shot callers. I would love it if they greenlit Days Gone 2, and that's where Ben's studio moved to. But I think going forward, what I am expecting is Sony to have some focus on their major exclusives. You know, they're Ghosts of Yotes. Thankfully, Housemarque is getting another run, and they're going to be doing another game. That's great and all, but I do think there's still going to be this emphasis on live service titles, and I think that might lead to even more layoffs, and I think Sony just needs to figure out what they want to do going forward. Do they want to continue doing the live service gamble, because that's going to lead to some games ultimately getting canceled, and then where do you go from there? And then that's going to continue the cycle of just games getting greenlit, canceled, layoffs, and I just don't think we're out of the woodworks yet as far as all of the layoffs that are going to be happening in PlayStation's restructuring. I'm really worried about a studio like Bend. Again, while a lot of us love Days Gone, while I loved games like Resistance, Retribution, Uncharted Golden Abyss, from Sony's standpoint, and that's where I'm trying to put myself in, they look at a Bend studio and they just try to define it from what have they offered to us as a studio, assess it, and then you come to the conclusion. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility whatsoever for them to get shut down. But for now, we have visual arts facing layoffs, and it's going to be really interesting to see what's going to happen going forward. As far as what PlayStation wants to do, like, obviously, me selfishly, I want them to have a lot of God of War's, Ghosts of Tsushima, Days Gone's, Horizons, Blue Point cooking, and these games coming from all angles, and you get 3 to 4 major AAA single-player games a year. But do they need to do that? Do they view that they need to do that? That's the more important thing. They don't need to do anything, but do they view that they need to do that? We'll see how that goes off, but obviously, well wishes to everyone hit with layoffs. And then moving on from that, on top of that, Until Dawn remake developer Ballistic Moon has been effectively shut down as well. Insider Gaming has learned that after the layoffs that were publicly announced in September 24 took place, roughly 40 employees or so were let go. The remaining staff was kept to offer post-launch support and development on Until Dawn after its October release in December 24. The company quietly laid off that staff as well, resulting in around 20 more developers losing their jobs. Sources say that the studio's founders remain, and possibly a handful of employees at most. People are sharing bugs that they found in game to make the team aware that there is no one working on a patch support for the game anymore. That studio has effectively closed down now as well. So that's another studio. Until Dawn, as far as a remake goes, was one of the more jarring remakes. Like, who was asking for an Until Dawn remake? I get why Sony did it. I get they're adapting the game, the possibilities of a sequel and everything like that. I guess they see this IP with some legs to it, but Until Dawn came out in 2014. Good of them to release it on PC as well, but baking in PSN account linking and limiting that game's access, not a good strategy as far as that's concerned. But yeah, like, Until Dawn getting a remake, you've got so many games under your umbrella and IPs, and you want to hand off Until Dawn to get a remake? Like, who's asking for this? Nobody! Or at least, I want to say not a lot of people are asking for an Until Dawn remake, and I can't imagine that remake did well at $60. And again, Until Dawn was a good little game back in 2014, but over the years, did you really hear people clamoring saying, we need an Until Dawn remake? No, nobody asked for this, and it's just, every time I see a remake like that, and you know, whatever, maybe it's inconsequential in the sense that it's not super expensive to make it, but you've got like the Ratchet Future games handed off to some studio. I'm sure they can figure out better ways to allocate their resources. At the same time, I get that they wanted to expand Until Dawn in a lot of different avenues, and maybe that's why the remake did happen. But that'll do it for me. Again, I know I went on a little bit of a tangent as far as the layoffs and Sony structuring as far as where they're gonna go in the future, but I think those two things go hand in hand. I don't know where Sony's going in the future after the cancellations of Ben Studios' title and Bluepoint's game and the live service mess, but at the same time, they're not going to have real consequences for it. Yeah, they might have a lackluster games lineup, a little bit more quiet of a games lineup, but ultimately, it doesn't matter anymore. They're getting their games lineup padded out by Microsoft now, and they don't have a direct competitor. None of this matters anymore. The actual pressure to do major games just doesn't exist. Why are they doing live service? It's because live service offers them an opportunity to create other ecosystems within their ecosystem to make even more money. That's the whole benefit of live service and that push by Sony. The reality is these Concord type games, and I'm gonna be real with you guys, I don't think this fair game is gonna do what Sony wants it to do either, but that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, sound off there. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.